Hi, I'm Crystal Garvin, and I'm going to talk to you today about time management, or what I like to refer to as time mastery. When I started this business, my husband was working 60 to 70 hours a week, traveling 2 weeks out of every month, and I was a busy homeschool mom of three young boys. I had a previous network marketing business that kept me home with my boys when they were babies, but I got burned out. And I was extremely hesitant to start a business in that particular season of life, or quite frankly, ever to do another MLM type business again. So when I made the decision to start with doTERRA, I committed to myself and my family that I would only do this business if I had a really good time management plan. And I can tell you, everyone I know who manages time well would not say they're naturally good at time management or that they were born with great time management capabilities. Instead, they all say they had to work to get good at managing their time by building the skills intentionally. Each one of them could remember a time in their lives when they managed time poorly on a regular basis, too. So, certainly, some people's personalities lend themselves more toward being organized, but even being organized in general is not the same as organizing time well. So, that's what I want to unpack with you a bit in this training, is just to help you wrap your mind around organizing your time well and what that really looks like in your doTERRA business. I'm going to turn my camera off real quick and I'm going to show you some slides to help you visualize this topic better too. So, why I call this time mastery is because it's not just management. I really want you to have a sense of freedom and accomplishment in how you master your time and your calendar. It's not about being tied to your calendar, it's about controlling how you use your time so you can enjoy your life and your doTERRA business, knowing you've done what needed to be done each week and each month to reach your goals. After all, the best business plan and the right mindset won't amount to anything without time invested into putting your plan into action. So here is what we are going to cover today. Measure time like a pilot, prioritize and focus, create a time budget, and build toward time freedom. So first of all, I learned this concept several years ago from a brilliant man named Dr. Tom Barrett, and this one idea transformed how I measure time and helped me get really honest with myself about my mindset and actions around time management. The way he encourages business owners to measure time is the same way pilots measure time. My husband is an aircraft mechanic and inspector. He has his private pilot's license. We actually live on an air park and are surrounded by airplanes and pilots. So I can relate to this analogy in kind of a unique way, but I believe anybody can learn this concept and really gain some value from it. So when pilots talk about their experience, they don't ask, how long have you been flying? Or how long have you been a pilot? No one really cares when a pilot became interested in flying, took their first class, how many seminars they've attended, how much they know about the physics of flight, or how well they've studied aviation manuals. What do they ask? They ask, how many hours have you logged? Because that's what matters. What matters is the hours logged. In our business, if we aren't inviting, presenting, and enrolling, we're not logging flight time. Learning to log the hours that count would make wellness advocates' expectations more realistic and reduce comparison, which can also be really tempting because we might know so-and-so who signed up around the same time we did or even later and somehow has surpassed our rank. And there's really no room for comparison in this business. It doesn't matter what your enrollment date was. Life circumstances often prevent one person from working at the same pace somebody else does. Just like one pilot is able to devote several hours a day to studying and flying and can log the hours needed for a license in months, while it will take another pilot who's working a couple jobs and raising a family several years. Both have to log the same amount of hours, but they do it in different ways and at different speeds. What matters in your business is how many hours you've logged and also whether you're working to improve your skills, doing personal development type things, and mentoring or coaching, which you already know. We've talked some about that. But no matter how many hours a private pilot has flown, they can't progress to a higher level of licensure, like a commercial pilot's license, without proving they can handle the more intense level of flying and navigate all the flight instrumentation, as well as taking advanced classes. So it is about doing the right things, but it's also about doing them the right way. That said, the number one factor that differentiates a hobby pilot from a professional commercial pilot is the number of hours logged. And I really like this quote you see. by Dr. Tom Barrett. We may fancy ourselves as pilots. We may read the monthly Pilots magazine. We may watch videos, go to seminars and weekly pilots meetings, but none of these count as flying. In reality, we are going nowhere. All right, so once we've figured out how to measure our time, let's figure out how to prioritize. And we're going to do that by starting with why. So first, you have to figure out what's most necessary to accomplish your goals. This requires knowing why you're doing the things you do. And then you can stop doing the unnecessary tasks, cut out distractions that might devour your time, because if it doesn't help you achieve your purpose, you can remove it from your list. This is going to take courage and clarity. You have to think about what the best possible use of your resources is and how you can make the most significant contribution. You don't have to live the rest of your life spinning plates and putting out fires, but first you have to decide how you'll take things off your plate, because each of us was already using up 24 hours a day before we decided to do doTERRA, right? So if you can't take some things off your plate now, maybe you can set a goal. When you reach that next rank or bonus or income level, then you can hire someone else to do it, for example. But start with your why and decide your priorities from there. Next, on the next block to the right, procrastination. This really is a choice, not a personality trait. But it is a tool we've used to alleviate stress or avoid discomfort in our lives, short term, but we're actually creating more stress and discomfort by procrastinating. I know because I've been a procrastinator most of my life, but I've also learned to manage my time better and map out what I need to do because I really like the peace of mind more than I like procrastinating. The next block, income producing activities. This is a concept you need to really understand. We often call them IPAs. This is what drives growth in our businesses. No matter our rank, no matter the size of our teams, without a proper ratio of income-producing activities to non-income producing activities, we can fall into this trap of micromanaging or just taking in lots of trainings and call it work. Or even worse, we might start to blame other people for the lack of growth in our businesses. So we always have to remember to examine ourselves honestly when we're tempted to point a finger and blame somebody else. So anytime it feels like there might be something wrong with your business, remember personal income producing activity can fix it. I've talked with people who have large teams and have been doing this a long time. I've talked with newer builders, and whenever we are starting to feel burned out consistently, one simple activity seems to breathe new life and energy and joy back into our businesses. And that is sharing oils with a new person who needs the hope we have to offer. That's it. So it's really simple, but you got to hold on to it and never forget people are waiting for you to share these gifts of the earth with them. And then finally, in the last block, you've got to get clear on something. There is no intrinsic value in being busy. You might need to be set free from that mindset. We can wear busyness as a badge of honor in our culture, but don't buy into it. Finding purpose and identity in being busy is not true significance. We cannot do everything. We can't do it all, or at least we can't and do it well. So sometimes people really hesitate when I talk about eliminate, automate, or delegate, and it might be because 1, you want to save some money. 2, you want to get something done the right way. Or 3, you want to get all the credit, which is a pride issue, and I know that hurts. But those are usually the reasons people don't eliminate, automate, or delegate to simplify their calendar and really master their time. And what you need to realize is this ends up costing more in time and energy in the long run. So there might be some things you have to let go. Refusing to delegate, automate, or eliminate some things off your plate, out of your calendar, that will leave you depleted with this life of busyness and burnout, and not with the freedom that we are seeking to achieve through this business. So I encourage you to decide at least one thing you can eliminate, one thing you can automate, and one thing you can delegate in the next week to help you make more time for your doTERRA business and ultimately make time for your dreams and your why. All right, within the idea of focusing and prioritizing, we also need to manage our energy, our boundaries, and our technology. So the first things to suffer when we're constantly busy are relationships and our health. The things that really matter, right? The ones we don't want to let deteriorate. Health and relationships are harder to get back than opportunities. So just kind of remember that you can have it all, but maybe not all at once. Figure out what matters most in this season and really mind your habits. Watch where your focus is and monitor your energy because those are all connected. And we are wellness advocates. We have to take care of our wellness first before we can help others. Okay, no solution, no set of boundaries is going to work for everyone, but I'm going to encourage you to do some honest self examination regarding your distractions and your boundaries. Learn the art of letting go and saying no gracefully to the things that don't matter most right now. The most successful leaders I know have learned to say no to things that don't line up with their ultimate goals, their life experience and purposes, the things that they know that they can do well, their strengths, but also where they're going. And we really can jeopardize our current commitments when we say yes to new things. Saying yes to something is always saying no to something else, right? And then finally, technology. So to be successful with technology, you have to be aware that no one actually multitasks really well. Multitasking is what Cal Newport, who wrote Deep Work, calls single tasking with lots of just checks. Just checking email, just checking text, just checking Facebook or Instagram, just checking the laundry even, so forth. Any kind of multitasking is really just checking things. And when it comes to social media or email, that causes distraction that actually costs you about 20 or 30 minutes. And then it leaves this kind of attention residue in your mind. And that makes it really hard to get back on track and refocus on whatever you were supposed to be doing before you just checked, right? So that can also be an escape. Just checking your email can be an escape from the harder work that you need to be doing. Maybe you really sat down to follow up with people or invite them to a class or something like that, but you thought you would just check your email first, and then it's, oh, my time block is done. I only had 30 minutes for that. I didn't get to that. I got so busy just checking Facebook or whatever it was. And also, we have to turn off conversation sometimes. Constant conversation is toxic to true productivity when you're really working toward a goal. So I'm not saying don't use technology at all. We will all use technology in our businesses, even if it's just to place our orders or enroll people. We will use technology to different degrees and in different ways. Some people will really influence through social media, but we just need to keep in mind what's worth spending our precious time on when it comes to technology. You can be very productive with technology if you manage it and don't let it manage you. Tracking your screen time can be a really eye-opening and effective way to make sure you're not letting technology manage you and that you can keep your focus where it needs to be. Just like with money, you won't reach your goals if you aren't disciplined to divide your time into categories and spend it wisely. A great way of prioritizing in this business is to organize your week according to income-producing activities or IPAs. And then when it comes to budgeting our business hours, we really need to strive toward keeping the 80-20 rule with about 80% of our activities falling into the IPA category, especially when we're new in this business. But even as leaders, even as seasoned builders, this is a good ratio to keep in mind because IPAs are necessary to drive our business forward. And there are other activities in our businesses that are necessary, but they just don't help us produce income. And it's good to kind of differentiate and know the difference between those. If we're aware of this balance and we strive for it, we'll be less likely to fall into the trap of micromanaging or busying ourselves with team support and trainings and reading up on the newest oil research or whatever it might be, and then feeling too depleted to actually reach out or follow up with new people the way that we are supposed to do. So IPAs are king. And you can block and track your time. I really recommend that. If you've never done time blocking, look into it. Get a calendar out and start blocking and tracking your time and strive for that 80% IPA as your threshold. And then evaluate. Go back to your vision casting plan and you might have to adjust your work hours or adjust your goal. That's the reason we want you to put that down on paper, how many hours you're going to work and then what your goal is. Because if they don't line up, if the number of hours you put down is not going to get you to your goal by the time that you had hoped, then you're going to have to adjust. And we really want you to have realistic goals and expectations. We don't want you to be set up for failure by thinking you can be diamond in 2 months by working 5 hours a week, So we want you to have the realistic goals for what works for your life and to be happy with the pace that you're getting there and to just start with being honest with yourself. And then you've got to stick to your plan. And this is where being your own boss comes into play. Now you can find an accountability partner, you can get mentoring from an upline, but you have to be your own boss. And I really liked what I used to hear a lady say, if you need a kick in the butt, look at your own foot. You got yourself a foot, kick yourself in the butt sometimes, because that's not an excuse not to move forward, right? Is you don't have someone else prodding you. We need to be able to do that for ourselves. And then when a class or a meeting postpones, commit to using that time for IPAs anyway. You've already blocked it out. You already had planned to do a class or whatever it was, and cancellations happen. But however you can, rather than doing some other busy work or feeling sorry for yourself and binging on chocolate and Netflix or something, challenge yourself to see cancellations, postponements, no-shows, all of those things as an opportunity to create some other kind of income-producing activity. Use the time you block to follow up on samples you've given out, or schedule your next event, or do a wellness consult with a new enrollment. You will be amazed how productive and empowering it is to use cancellation time as an opportunity. And, habits that suit someone else might not suit you. So you've got to find what's going to work for you. Put new habits into place for your life. This is all brand new. Like I said, you were using up 24 hours before you decided to do doTERRA. So you're going to have to get some new habits into place in order to make time for this and to master your time with it really well. You are unique. No one else's calendar is going to look exactly like yours. So give yourself permission to do this business in a way that works for you, but also make the commitment to evaluate your habits, evaluate how you use your time, and decide how you'll improve so you can create the future that you are looking for. All right, so these are just some ideas for how you could block your time with IPAs in mind. This is not going to be the same for everyone, like I said. It's not even going to be the same from week to week for any one person. But let's say Monday is your support day. So you line up a mentoring call if you're new, a mentoring call with your upline if that day works for them. And then you also have Monday Meetup, which is our team call on Zoom each week. These are not income producing activities, but they're necessary things. It's good to chart out your week, starting it with these types of activities. Then on Tuesday, Tuesday and Saturday, let's say those are your days you can do presentations, whether that's one-on-one, Zoom classes, in-person classes, whatever it is you're doing to reach out to new people. You want to keep that consistent for your life. So you say, Tuesdays and Saturdays are best for me. Those are income producing activities, so that's great. Then you could schedule time to invite and sample and follow up. Let's say you do that 2 days a week, Wednesday and Friday. Those are also income producing activities. So anything that can generate income in your business is an income producing activity. And you'll want to schedule some wellness consults or membership overviews, whatever you call it, with your new enrollments. So I just put that on Thursday. And I consider this an IPA because you are really hoping to get your second enrollment, is what we call it. And that's when someone signs up for a loyalty rewards program. But even if they don't get on an LRP, this is still income producing because you're helping a new enrollment know how to order and how to move forward in their wellness and doTERRA journey. And that's going to continue to generate income for you in the future. So then you might want to schedule some time on the weekend to address things that come up during the week that you don't want to let fall through the cracks. I call that a power hour. So a weekly power hour just to kind of take care of all the little things you've been putting off, or maybe you need some time to manage your social media, things like that. So I just put that on Saturday. I didn't include Sunday. You've got a day off there. You might need more than one day off. Okay, I know this might not fit your life, and depending on your business, you might need to carve out time for different things, for doing things a little bit differently. But that's okay. If you're a leader who has some content to create, or you have your own team call, your calendar is going to look a little different, of course, from a new builder versus a leader with a large team to support. So the total number of hours spent in this example calendar could be anywhere from 6 hours to 16 hours, depending if you're just doing that 1 hour a day, or if you're doing that 2 or 3 hours in that range. But of course, it won't look the same for everyone. And that's going to depend where you landed after doing your vision casting. So just know what you have put down, what you've committed to for your number of hours, and map out how you're going to use those hours so you know when you're working and what you're doing during those hours. And we'll have weeks that require more supporting or traveling. We're going to convention, those kind of things. But we also have weeks when maybe we sample a ton of people and we have more classes, more follow-ups, more prospect meetings than usual. So this will fluctuate, but the important thing is to make the time on your calendar and figure out how to use that time effectively. So the goal here is time freedom. Again, being busy is not a reason to feel significant. We want to get our significance from the impact we're making, and that is so possible with doTERRA. We make such a huge difference in others' lives, and doTERRA itself make such a huge impact all over the world, and we get to be a part of that. But we have to be brave, and you will be tempted to do what's comfortable instead of what's right for your business. You just will. So you're going to have to make that decision to build in habits and be intentional. But then you're also going to have to be flexible because life happens. So you take it as it comes. You get back on track as soon as you can. When something comes up and gets you off track, it's okay. Give yourself grace in that. We all have those things come up too. And then you'll need to be intentional again. So you did not start this business to end up depleted and overly busy. So being intentional and mastering your time and really putting it down and sticking to your plan is going to help you get to that dream and that why that you've been working toward, that you've been dreaming of, that you've been hoping for. I hope you've maybe even made a vision board by now so you can visualize that. And finally, I want to encourage you that you can master your time. I have one final tip for you. In regards to logging flight hours, I like to think of myself like a rocket and use Mel Robbins' famous 5-second rule to help me push the launch button. Here is how Mel's blog describes the concept. The 5-second rule is simple. If you have an instinct to act on a goal, you must physically move within 5 seconds or your brain will kill it. The moment you feel an instinct or desire to act on a goal or commitment, use the rule. When you feel yourself hesitate before doing something that you know you should do, count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go, and move toward action. There is a window that exists between the moment you have an instinct to change and your mind killing it. It's a 5-second window and it exists for everyone. If you do not take action on your instinct to change, you will stay stagnant. You will not change. But if you do one simple thing, you can prevent your mind from working against you. You can start the momentum before the barrage of thoughts and excuses hit you at full force. What do? Just start counting backward to yourself. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The counting will focus you on the goal or commitment and distract you from the worries, thoughts, and excuses in your mind. As soon as you reach 1, push yourself to move. This is how you push yourself to do the hard stuff, the work you don't feel like doing, or you're scared of doing, or you're avoiding. That's it. 5 seconds is all it takes. If you don't act on an instinct within that 5-second window, that's it. You're not doing it. I just love how she words that, and it really has worked for me. So remember, you are your own boss in this business. No one else can do the things for you, whether it's hitting the snooze button when you set your alarm early to exercise or do personal development, or if it's putting off scheduling a class out of fear that no one will come, or even if it's just checking social media when the reason you picked up your phone was to call or text someone on your chicken list. You will be tempted to give in to doing what's comfortable instead of doing what's right for your business. Try the 5-second rule. Get an accountability partner. Make a vision board. Look at it every day so you never forget why your daily business activity is worth it. And if you haven't allowed yourself to dream in a while, it's time to dust off those dreams on the shelf, dream big, and go for it. Because that's what time mastery is really all about. Okay, so that's it. And now to help you put what we've talked about into practice, we're providing you with a time blocking sheet. It'll be broken down into half-an-hour increments. So if your schedule is basically the same week to week, make this a template for your weekly time management. But if your schedule changes a lot from week to week, just use next week as your starting point or this week. And then fill in all your non-negotiable activities. If you have another job, weekly appointments, commitments, even things like the hours that you sleep, preparation of food, working out. The first time I did this, I was feeling pretty good about myself until I realized I hadn't left myself any time to shower and get ready in the morning. So when I say write down everything, I mean everything. And then after you've filled in all your blocks, see what you've got to work with for your business. If your hours line up with the number you decided on to reach your goal when Tanya walked you through vision casting for your business, you can go ahead and start filling in your time, just keeping that 80-20 IPA goal in mind. But if the hours you have left to work your business aren't lining up with the number you set, then it's time to make some decisions. You'll either have to adjust your hours or adjust your goal, and that can be really hard, but we need to know how to do this, and we need to create business plans for ourselves, and then someday you'll be doing this with a builder too, and it needs to be realistic. So if you can't eliminate, automate, or delegate to free up more hours, you'll need to be okay with reaching your goal a bit more slowly, and really it's going to feel better to be honest with yourself rather than setting yourself up for disappointment. and unrealistic expectations. So once you've filled in all the hours on that sheet, you'll use your calendar that you have at home or an online calendar like Google Calendar, whatever works for you, and schedule your classes, your events, the times you have for one-on-one meetings, and get to work filling those in, fill in those IPAs. And then you'll know exactly what you're inviting people to and when you're inviting them to meet. There's just something magical about writing things down. It solidifies commitment to your brain, and then your brain goes to work mentally to do the next steps. You are wired to want to do whatever it's going to take to do what you wrote down. So let's work on blocking our time, planning out our calendars, and making things happen in our businesses. Thanks for joining me. I hope this was helpful. I look forward to hearing how you master your time to reach your goals.